I told you briefly about my hero Janusz Korczak. Also a big hero of mine, also in Warsaw, was Irena Sendler. We have a children's edition and a adult edition. A non-Jew who did so much to save Jewish children. She's a hero of the Jewish people, for the Jewish people. It is a must-read. Book on Lithuanian Jewry by Ephraim Oshry. By Ephraim, sorry. A heart-wrenching book. We're in a heart-wrenching section here. I gotta tell you, talk about heart-wrenching. This book here, Literature Destruction, there's an essay in here by Zalman Gradowski. It's not an essay. He was a member of the Sonderkommando in Auschwitz, in Birkenau. And he buried in canisters, in Zyklon B canisters, what he witnessed in over a year in the Sonderkommando, where the average was 3 months of survival. I've read a lot on this. I've read a lot on the Holocaust, but it's heart-wrenching to read what he wrote. Maybe you can even only read it on Yom HaShoah or on Tisha B'Av. We have a lot of books by Primo Levi, of course, his most famous book, Survival in Auschwitz. There was every story from the Holocaust is a story and is important and worth it. However, God only gave a blessing to a few people who could tell it over in such a way that it affects our whole neshama. Primo Levi is one person like that. Elie Wiesel is another. Night. And by the way, we hope to have in the next 2 weeks a poem of Elie Wiesel, Tale of a Nigun, which is, to me, I've read most all of Elie Wiesel's books. There's a new one that come out called The Tale of a Nigun. You can reserve if you want. Next to Night, I think it's one of the greatest of his monumental works. And also Viktor Frankl. Those three people, God gave such a special gift to be able to explain about the Holocaust. I recently read this book here, Treblinka. It's weird spelling, Gil Reichman. I tell you, after I read this book, I've read several books on Treblinka, this simple book, a little over 100 pages. At least when I was reading it, I feel that Avinu Malkeinu could be just limited to the three things. The people who went into fire, the people who went into water, all those people who were murdered for the sanctification of God's name. As this book, after you read it, it's you can't. For me, for some reason, Avinu Malkeinu came on me, and I can't read Avinu Malkeinu the same after reading that book. We had an amazing escape from Auschwitz by two people. Rudolf Verba. There's one book here, a really well written book, and his partner in this how can I say such a thing? In escaping Auschwitz. What an act of I don't know what it is, of kindness by God that He allowed these two men to escape and tell the world what happened. By Alfred Wetzler. What is that? I think it was Freudian. That was such a crime for the crime of the Germans, of what they did to us. Such a crime. We're standing in a section here that is so necessary and so hard to stand in, but we must do a certain amount of reading about the Holocaust. Sugihara, another hero of the Jewish people. He signed documents that allowed over 10,000 Jews from Lithuania to escape and to escape the Holocaust. He did this against the wishes of his government, against it. We have books here on the Warsaw Ghetto. Halacha. This book I read in depth and studied it with a kavruta. There's a section here on on halakha during the Holocaust, 2-volume set, tremendously well researched, put together. Also a must read. Hidden in Thunder. Another book is out of print that we have on the Holocaust and Halakha is this Theological and Halakhic Reflections of the Holocaust. Anyway, I'm going to try to promote Raphael to scan these bookshelves. I want to emphasize again this book here, Irena's Children. She was a non-Jewish nurse in the Warsaw Ghetto, and she smuggled out over 1,000 Jewish children at great danger to herself. She was almost beaten to death, and she had to talk Jewish families out of giving up their 1-year-old, their 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and telling them that she would do her best to return them after the war. And she kept big records. She kept good records, and she tried to return so many of them. Anyways, she lived to about 96 years old. She was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. How she didn't win it, I don't know. Anyway, a must read to learn about this righteous Gentile.